Alright, hello everybody, welcome to Brics Part 43. The following information is for research purposes. We are trying to understand BRICS and relation to it to the United States and World War III and the Russia, China, and Iran alliance. So let's get down into this. Okay, so this is where we left off before I did the emergency, and we're picking up on this was continued from Brics Part 34. So if you want to see the first part of this, Brics Part 34, and this is the title, The U.S. and the EU and CEA Relations with Regional Powers. Okay? So let me get back to where we were. Here we go. The military connection is where we were. Okay, I'm reading. But this first part seems interesting. The belief that the economic dynamism comes from technological innovation is a healthy private economy, and a balanced government budget underlies U.S. armament acquisition policy of Truman, Eisenhower, and Nixon. Kennedy, Reagan, and Bush Jr., however, resorted to deficit spending to build military capacity. The latter two presidents increased deficit spending also for financing tax relief, from which high-income earners profit most, which translate into the ability of these professionals to raise record amounts of money for financing election campaigns. Okay, so I'm reading now about the Clinton presidency, so give me some time. Okay, so for the Clinton presidency, a healthy economy implied productive superiority of U.S. enterprises over foreign competitors. Clinton elevated competitiveness of the U.S. enterprises in a pillar of national security of the U.S. Okay, reading. Okay, so in Clinton's world of man-made comparative advantage, some of his trade officials believed that state agents had to provide a helping hand as salesmen. The Clinton administration and its successors will inevitably continue to play hardball in helping American firms to lock up contracts abroad. Foreign governments will learn that the United States will not roll over when confronted with their aggressive tactics. At the same time, the cost intervention will rise for them. Okay. Reading again. Okay. Our economic strength must be a central defining element of our national security policy. We must organize to compete and win in the global economy. Okay, the great discovery in commercial policy of Clinton's administration is that Ricardo's free trade theory, which underlies neoclassical free trade theory, is good for others but does not apply to U.S. technology-intensive manufacturers. Sumter, therefore, has come alongside Ricardo in America's external commercial policy. Okay, reading. Okay. In the external policy of President Bush, the commercial element gets a less prominent role, whereas military policy is more visible than in the Clinton administration. The military cannot create trade flows itself, nor is that institution able to contribute to financial stability. However, implementing regime change in sovereign states does create opportunities for U.S. businessmen, such as weapons suppliers, foreign investors, sellers of candy bars, and distributors of the Holy Bible. The eagerness of the Bush administration to expand its military force in the Persian Gulf, as well as in the Caspian Sea, is a mixture of private commercial interest, domestic energy security, and global security objectives. NATO's expansion is good for weapons producers in the United States, though not for Russia's armaments exporting sector. One may expect that the long-term stationing of U.S. military forces in the CEA states will contribute to U.S. armaments sales to host governments, in particular to its oil and gas exporters. Okay, okay, so now I'm going back to reading. Okay, so it's talking about the United States established itself militarily in these countries during Bush's presidency. Okay, and the aim of that is to create a platform that can take action against any group perceived as a danger. Okay, this is part of the anti-terrorism campaign, which ended up being bullshit. Okay. Okay, so the United States, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan, I hope I pronounced those right. Okay, it talks about deployment of troops there, and in return, the United States promised to provide its host with $160 million in aid in 2002, an increase of $100 million over earlier figures. These funds get allocated despite an undemocratic government and international critique of its respect for human rights. Only 2 days before the Secretary of State, Colin Powell, visited Uzbekistan in December of 2001, Parliament had granted a life term of office for President Islam Karimov. Interesting. Reading. The United States planned to relocate fighter jets from Pakistan to Uzbekistan to Kyrgyzstan, and they don't know the impact because it's hard to predict. And they're all hoping that the U.S. will increase its political and economic support for each of their countries. Okay, but the most important relationship the United States has established in the region is with Georgia. It would provide Georgia with military support worth up to $64 million. Cooperation with Azerbaijan, I don't know how to pronounce that name, also has significantly increased. Both countries provided the U.S. with overflight rights for airstrikes on Afghanistan. Washington reacted in January by lifting an 8-year ban on aid to the Azeri government. This policy aimed at ending the Azeri blockade on Nagorno-Karabakh, Durka? I don't know. Durka. Um, on March 28th of 2002, the U.S. government promised that country 4.4 million. The same amount has been promised to Armenia. The U.S. force established in the CEA could help to gain support from the countries in the CEA. At the same time, extended presence of U.S. military in the CEA could lead to rivalry with Russia, Iran, and China. Here we go again. Russia, Iran, China. The three countries we're going to be at war with. Okay? So they already knew that this possibility was coming. Where are we at? Man, it's been a heck of a long time ago. I'm gonna stop here for today. That way, the next time I do this, which won't be next week, but the week after, but we'll be right there with the Russian military and the CEA. And once again, what is the CEA? If we can actually. I don't know if we ever got an actual explanation of what the CEA is. Oh, Central Eastern Asia. Or Central European Asia? I don't. Hold on. I'm not getting like a clear definition of this. Okay, so yeah, the CEA stands for Central and East Asia. Okay, so make note. Okay, so we're already seeing right here. Okay, so to sum up what I find interesting about this so far is we had the 9/11 attacks. Okay? And then this war in the Middle East, in which they knew that this was going to probably bug these countries, okay? But then at the same time, in 2001, Goldman Sachs created Brics. So, this whole war was set up by the elite. Because 9/11, you can look up, I'm not going to speak about it much on here because I don't want this video to get deleted, but you can ask me on Twitter how I feel about 9/11. Or just search some of my statements on it. Okay? That would be the best way, I think, at the moment. Because 9/11 was set up, and I feel like a lot of people know that. So all this, what we're going through, has been organized to lead up to this moment. Okay? And you're seeing the plans right through these peer-reviewed papers. Because the elite made it to where Russia, Iran, and China would be able to compete with the United States and Central and East Asia with Brics, as you can see them uniting countries together. Okay? See how the balance of power kind of shifted, and this is going to disrupt the global economy and lead to a Great Depression, or a global depression, because of the currency reset. So this situation we're in right now was all by design. I want people to know that. This entire situation that we're in right now with Russia, Iran, and China was all by design and meant to happen. That's why Obama gave Iran all that money, was because they wanted them to prepare for war. And now, look at the situation that we're in right now. Okay? Um, so I'm gonna let you go. I will, this will be, well, I'll be coming back to do, what am I gonna be doing the next time? Okay, so looking at the way how I was doing things previously, it looks like we're going to be coming around and I'm going to be going to the next executive order and talking about that next Monday. And then I'll do another Brics video, and then I'll be talking about uniting America. The last time I did criminal justice. This coming up next time, I'm going to do QFS and the Federal Reserve, and how, you know, well, we'll just talk about the problems of the Federal Reserve. And then it'll be a poem. I'm not ready to do, I'm gonna, right here where I do the poem, I'm also gonna kind of maybe sometimes do a comedy skit. But it may take me a few months to get to that because I gotta write it down and I'm busy writing my books. I was excited to do it, but I was like, man, I need a little time for this. It's the first time I've done something like that, and so I don't know how it's gonna be. But I'm gonna wrap it up. Um, I will see you next Monday, though, and other than that, I'm out. And this has been a World War III, Iran, Russia, China, and Brics production. And I will see you next Monday. Monday.